everyone, it's your girl Adora. So today's conversation was inspired by my conversation with my friend when we were talking about standards and all of that. And the way I see things is a bit, I don't know, I like to overthink. So when I hear a word or I read something, I see the multiple sides of it and I'm able to apply it in different parts of my life. So now that I am reading the word, I know guys, I'm reading the Bible. God is really doing something. He really is doing something. This year he's like, you are my daughter. And I'm like, yeah, Father in heaven. The conversation between me and my friend was inspired by Galatians 4 verse 1 to 7. And the scripture reads, "Now I say that as long as the heir is a child, he differs in no way from a slave, though he is the owner of everything. Instead, he is under the guidance and trustee until the time set by his father. In the same way, we also, when we are children, were in the slavery under the elements of the world." So when he says that, he's talking about when you are an unbeliever and when you become a believer. So when you're an unbeliever, you are a slave, a child to the elements of the world. So it carries on saying, when the time comes to completion, God sent his son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those under the law, so that we might receive adoption as son. And because you are son, God sent the spirit of his son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father. So you are no longer the slave, but a son. But if a son, then God has made you an heir. So yes, this is talking about the blessings that you get once you become saved in Christ. In the beginning, where it talks about the fact that you still get blessings even when you haven't had your covenant with God. You still get blessings, but not as much as you will when you do commit your life under God through Jesus Christ. You get an abundance of blessings. You might be thinking, what does this have to do with standards? I and my friend were having the conversation and he told me, hey, I want to start doing X, Y, and Z for myself. I want to start doing more for myself. And I said to him, you should do more for yourself. You should. Because if when you was a child, like Galatians says, you still got blessings from God, why then would you not do more for yourself? And why then would you allow people to give you less? If when you are not even saved yet, you still get a standard, you still get some sort of blessing from God. Waking up in the morning and being able to breathe, eat is a blessing. I know we don't like to look at those little things, but that is in fact a blessing. To have life is a blessing. Those are things that are afforded to us even when we are unbelievers. So that's how I said to him that yes, you should have a standard for yourself. Be intentional with your standards. And I'm not saying go spend your whole entire money on things that you don't need. What I'm saying to you is invest in yourself. When it comes to standard, it has nothing to do with the other person. It actually has everything to do with you and what you do in your life. There's this difference between preferences and standards. And I feel like we in this day and age are misconstruing those two things when we meet men, us as female, or even men meeting females. There is no discerning somebody through what they're willing to receive from us. So it's not just about you giving me the top tier. No, it's about you being able to know that you deserve the top tier. So I want to switch the mindset of, or it's about what you receive from that person, because it's not. It's all about what you do for yourself. I know how many people have a huge preference list and they misconstrue that for standards. They start talking to somebody and they expect this person to meet a preference that they don't even meet for themselves. The accountability comes from you giving yourself what it is that you want reflected back to you. So it's not about you gaining or enriching yourself when you meet somebody new, because you don't have it in yourself to love yourself just as much. So you crave that from external sources. But the thing is, just like lust, you cannot quench lack of worthiness. You really have to figure out where it's coming from. Then you take control of the narrative. Then you start taking care of yourself. Hence, your whole life and perspective and how you see things and what you receive and what you give changes. Even before I started getting into the scripture, my standard started when I started to notice that I was in situations that were beneath me. And I say that very humbly. There's no reason for me to be sitting here having conversations and arguing with people when I know that they're bent to misunderstand me. But why was I even in that position at the first place? I had to start being responsible. Or maybe it's because I allow certain relationships that I did not even vet properly. When I say relationship, I mean friendships. In this scenario, I mean friendships. I am allowing myself to be in spaces that is not for me. And I allowed that. So therefore, this conversation that I'm having that is uncomfortable with this person where I'm trying to prove myself, I allowed it, even though they were more of the evil, even though they were the ones with the bad intentions. The truth is, I set the stage to allow it to happen in the future. When you start to think about everything starts and culminates with you, your life starts to change. I've seen a lot of TikToks, I've seen a lot of skits, I've seen a lot of short videos talking about if a man's not paying your bills, he's not your man. That is for marriage. If he wants to pay your bills, that's great, but that's not something that it should be a standard. That's a preference. And it's not even a preference based off of anything factual or true to you. It's something that you saw in the internet because many people are not comfortable in their life. You adopt that as yours when you don't even have a true reason why you require that. Especially in the beginning of getting to know somebody should be about spending time knowing that you guys actually like each other and you don't just tolerate each other. Babe, you should be trying to just know if you actually like this guy without the bells and the whistles. Because the character or lack thereof character was the reason why you and your previous partner didn't work out. He just happened to be broke. So sorry, guys. He just happened to be So sorry, guys. I'm really... What I'm trying to say is another person who comes to you correct and give you the bells and whistles, if he has terrible character, he's going to mask that with the bells and whistles and lure you into a relationship. Then when the mask starts to come off, you are so addicted to his hand that you're not able to leave. This happens all the time. I remember my past situation. Man was so wealthy. I literally told him, I'm getting to know your heart first. And when I tell you that saved me. And that's one thing about standards. Standards actually will save you from abuse. Mentally, emotionally, physically. A lot of women that are in relationship, they can't leave the relationship because they are so dependent on that man financially. But then you go on TikTok and they're telling you to do this exact same thing. None of them tells you the backstory of what happens. None of them tell you the amount of manipulation they have to consistently do to get that man to do that for them. Find a man that you know his heart and he knows your heart. No one is saying to you to accept the bare minimum. I will tell you my bare minimum. Taking me to a fancy date and having nothing to talk about that is of essence. That to me is the bare minimum. I've been on a date and a guy took me to a 5-star nice restaurant and had nothing to say to me that was of value. And I said to him, why would you waste your money coming here? The reason why relationships are not working is people are not working on their character. That's why men cheat, because they don't work on their character. Women manipulate because we don't work on our character. There was a time when I told somebody, we were having this conversation about how I felt that African men or men in general were not leading what they wanted in relationship because they were not leading in the culture, in the community. You expect certain things from a woman, but yet you still cheat, lie, and you expect her to be loving and caring. How do you expect that to work? Because I challenged something that he is not willing to work on because that requires him to change the core of his existence. This man said to me, yeah, Dora, that's just how things are. That's just how the world goes. He said these specific words, you are going to be single for a very long time. Like as if there's an incentive to be in broken marriages and relationships just because we are not willing to stay alone and wait for God's time. There's no incentive, sir. Yes, do I desire a man to be resourceful? Yes. But money can be taken anytime. Character, that is consistent. That's what I was talking about when I was saying men have not led what they want in the culture. Make sure your standards are about principles rather than looks and money. Now, am I going to lie to you that I don't like a man that look good? That's a lie. In saying that, I've never been somebody that fell for somebody's look or money. That comes later on. I have to actually get to know you. Then you look very good to me. Him having integrity, very attractive. Compassion, very attractive to me. And I can't get that from your face. Okay, you look good. So... Let's talk about friendship. I feel like we don't put enough emphasis in friendship. You need to have standards in your friends, in friendship. Granted, not all friends are built the same. You need to have friends that are able to be okay with the differences that you guys have. Loyalty, respect, kindness, and also being able to bring matters to you, then gossip behind you. When they have a problem with you, they're able to come to you rather than go back behind your back, because that shows how much respect they have for the friendship, or how much emphasis they have on that friendship in terms of it going further than the now. Part of friendship is as well is talking about boundaries. You need to talk about what you expect in friendships. If you guys are not aligning in that way, there's no point. But we don't have conversations when we're vetting friends. In fact, many of us, I've noticed in the community, do not vet friends. We just assume that proximity means that we're friends. No, you just enjoy the same things, material things. It means nothing. How you vet your friends will save you so much headache. Even in your job, when you are going for a job interview, you need to make sure that where you at is going to respect you as an individual, and they have a culture of diversity, respect, kindness, and understanding. And because one thing we forget is a job, or even any form of relationship, is a two-way street. When it comes to a job, you have just as much value that you're going to be able to give to them as they have when they give to you in terms of payment and all. So your value to that business is worth something. You need to come into that interview knowing that you bring value. As many people don't ask questions during interviews. That already shows your lack of standards towards yourself. You don't care if this space is suitable for you as well. You just saw dollar signs. When you ask questions in any form of relationship, it shows the level of respect you have for yourself as to what you let in your space. Standards, and be intentional with that. Even when you start working, if you don't like certain things, you should be able to voice yourself in a respectful manner. It shows how much respect you have for yourself. I used to not have standards in jobs as well, where it was just about me trying to prove myself. And what did that do for me? I just went thin. I was never appreciated. I was doing so much more than I was being paid for, but I allowed it anyways. And now where I work at, I work 40% less than what I used to do when I was younger, and I get paid more for it. I've been able to occupy specific industries that I had no business being there, but because I knew that I had certain skill sets, I still walked into that interview like I knew what they were saying. Like I knew that I fit there, because I knew that I have certain things that allows me the ability to learn quickly, and that could be of asset to them. During the interview, I will ask them a few questions to let them know that I'm making sure that you are able to value me just as much as I value the exchange, the monetary exchange. Your relationship with God, you need to be intentional with that. I said to my friend that day, if you believe that you are the daughters and the son of God, why would you allow anybody to give you anything less? Why would you give anybody less? Think about it. So there's been times here that I have actually gone out of my way to apologize to people who met me wrong because of the way I responded. The reason why I did that was not because of I was the one in wrong. It was because I knew who I am, or who I knew I wanted to be, required me to respond a certain way, but I fell short in that moment. So when I apologize, it's not about them. It's about me reclaiming my standard. When you do certain things, it's not about that person. See, when you get to a point where you want a specific type of existence reflecting back at you, you start to take control of what you tolerate, how you respond to certain things. And even when you fall short, you're quick to recognize it and to correct yourself because you want a better version of yourself, and that's your standard towards yourself. How does that look like? You say you want a good body, or you say you want to date somebody that looks good, that takes care of himself. Start taking care of yourself. Stop wanting it from other people. Maybe you get into a passa with somebody that really hurt you. Sit back and respond the way your future self will want you to respond, rather than in anger. If it means that it has to take you a couple of days to respond, do that. And that's a skill that I'm still learning, but I've come such a long way. See, standards is not about what you get from people. Yes, it does affect that, but it starts with what you do with yourself. You want a man to take you to Nobles, take yourself to Nobles. Yeah. You want a man to take you to Milan. Okay, maybe not go Milan. Go somewhere chilled like Bali or something. Get to a point where you are frustrated, you become annoyed, you become allergic to mediocrity. It's about everybody being able to eat and you eat too. So you see how that works. It's really about what you give to yourself and how you see yourself, and you can't pretend it. A lot of girls will sit there and write so much quotes when they get heartbroken or some guy doesn't text them. Or they figure that a man them is cheating on them. They write so much quote on Instagram or Snapchat and to let themselves believe that they know that they're that woman, that they know that they deserve X, Y, and Z. But when the situation comes for you to show that, you don't. It is easier said than done for you to have standards and for you to respect your standards, even if it means not having that physical thing that you think you want. I want everybody around me to know that they are and more. So when you're next to me and you're not feeling that energy, I boost all my friends because I know all my friends' weaknesses. I don't talk about it though. I don't sit to talk about it because it's not for me to talk about it, but I throw light here and there. Also, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I've been seeing a lot of conversations about very materialistic things, and a lot of people talking about all of this material things. There's this lady on TikTok. But you guys need to be careful of who you hear advice from, because some people have some spirit behind them when they speak. When you sit and you listen to such a woman that was willing to take somebody else's husband, and you're getting advice from her, and you think she's for women when she showed you in her past that she's not for women. So what then is her intention of giving you guys this advice? Everything that she talks about is about manipulation and control. Why would you want to manipulate somebody to do for you? Somebody should want to love you freely, and if they can't, you should have a standard for yourself to walk away. And even men that are willing to give you all of this lavish things doesn't mean they have good character. It's the character that makes it sweet. And you would know this if you spend time working on your character. You all need to be careful because, you see, the enemy is very smart. It will come with a lot of truth, but 1% is lie. And usually it's the effects that is the lie. But you won't see that because you're so engrossed and so infatuated and so covered by what I'm going to gain. And this is why I always say to women, start doing it for yourself. Start really going back and ask yourself, why don't I feel worthy enough to do these things for myself? And start taking control of that narrative, and you start seeing your life change. Your eating will be better. The way you take care of your space will be better. How you treat other people will be better. How you even respond to situations that will make you upset or bring anger or pride will be different. I was doing all of this before I got into the word. I just started getting into the word recently. It is giving me more clarity on what to do. The whole Bible, even especially in Proverbs, is really about standards. But that is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's conversation. Do not forget to love and adore yourself. Bye.